Hey, welcome everybody to the Really True CFL Pick'em Show. We're at week 13. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. I want to welcome in the immortal Os Davis.
Hi guys, how you doing? Before we start, I'd like to remind everybody that I still have all my hair, and I was 4-0 last week.
Yeah, and I would like to remind everybody I still don't have any of mine. Now, that'll bring me to somebody else that doesn't have any hair, that's follically challenged, which means that he's smarter than Oz too, because grass don't grow, you know the old saying, right, Brian? Brian Schmidt.
Absolutely. It's been a great weekend of football, and, my Steelers are winning, so it makes me happy, which makes me happy on this show.
All right. Well, the Steelers suck, and they're going to lose to the Bengals next week, which will make me happy. But let's go ahead. Let's go back to Oz. Oz.
Yes.
Do you want to explain to people why you still are the only person with hair on this show?
Yeah, I guess for those that didn't listen last week,
I didn't mean that. I just want to know why you still have hair. You should just get rid of it in solidarity with me and Schmitty.
Thank you.
Well, not due to a bet, that's for sure. I'm not going to do that because I realized something about this bet. I actually have been thinking about it because I've always said that if my hair starts thinning, I don't want to be one of these, George Costanza guys where I have to, comb over the hair. That's just, I hate that shit. So I figured,
you shave your head.
Yeah, right. So I figured if that ever started to happen, I would shave my head. It still hasn't happened yet, but you can kind of imply that it's going to happen. And plus, there's a lot of cool bald guys like, Michael Jordan, Patrick Stewart, Lex Luthor.
Mike Goodpaster, Brian Schmidt.
There you go.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, well, okay. Still, it's cool. But the thing is this. If I had done it because I had lost this bet on the Calgary game, everybody would ask me, what happened? Why did you shave your head? And I would have to admit it's because I lost a bet to Mike Goodpaster.
Most people do, so you wouldn't feel bad. Actually, people would probably be impressed that you even know me. Don't you think, Brian?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Have you ever told people before, Brian, that you know me, and they go, really? You're a lucky guy.
Well, at times I've been more of, I'm so sorry, but sometimes I get that.
Yeah, but usually those are assholes that live near Pittsburgh.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, because everybody who lives near Pittsburgh is an asshole. But
I wish I did.
All right, let's get more serious here. You guys need to quit cutting up so much. This is a serious show. Robert Drummond's not here tonight. He had a prior engagement. He'll be back next week. Of course, Dieter Brock was put in the Ring of Honor with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he texted me this morning or yesterday that they were just flying him back this evening, so he'll be back next Tuesday also. So make sure you come back next Monday, so make sure you come back next week to hear Dieter and Robert. But for tonight, I guess you guys are just stuck with me, Schmitty, and the Wizard of Oz. Oz, we're going to have to do what we always do. We're going to start off with the Montreal Alouettes, who actually scored some points this week in a 38-27 loss to the BC Lions. What do you have to say for your Montreal Alouettes?
Well,
and I would say this is probably a good time to bring up the Drew Willie trade.
Right. Yeah, I was going to go into that too. On this game, this is what we saw at towards the beginning of the season. It looks like they score a lot of points, all garbage time. Went into halftime with well in the hole. BC Lions defense just decided to take the foot off the pedal. We've seen this before from both of these teams. But the truth is, Jonathan Jennings was dominant. BC scored at will. They ran at will. My God, the nice running performance by Jeremiah Johnson there. What did he have, 138 yards on I'm sorry, no, I'm looking at the other statistic. He had 159 yards on 16 carries. So pretty nice game there, 9.9 yards per carry. Yes, the trade. The big news is, as we record this, sort of a 3-team trade. I guess it was actually two-team trades. But they end up sending the Alouettes, my Alouettes, end up sending Kevin Glenn to – who did he ended up on Winnipeg along with a couple of draft picks and cornerback TJ Heath. The Toronto Argonauts get Drew Willie. I don't know. Should we talk about all of these moves or just Montreal? Because basically Montreal ended up with a fourth rounder and the signal that help. We're getting killed in the salary cap, and this season's over for us.
Yeah, but they threw a lot of money at Drew Willie.
Sorry, who did?
Didn't they get Drew Willie?
No, Drew Willie goes to Toronto.
Oh yeah, that's right. What am I thinking?
Yeah, that's the thing. After this bizarre, insane comeback performance by
so they basically are poorly run and need to get rid of money.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're saying that. I heard today that even with this trade, they're still expecting to be $300,000 to $350,000 over the cap at the end of the season. So, this is just shedding money, but it's also saying we could lose every game for the rest of the season. We're done. So.
All right, Brian, what was your take on BC and Montreal? Jonathan Jennings had a great game. He'd been down for a week or two. And then what was your take on Cato playing quarterback instead of Glenn for Montreal?
I thought Cato played okay. Again, a lot of garbage time scores, but I didn't think he played a terrible game. But, Montreal's just at times, again, the whole once-a-month thing, it seems like they have to build up to play well, but for the rest of the time they just play terrible at times. And, this game,
you're talking garbage time, they're down 24-6 at the half, so it's not like offensively they did anything in the first half.
Right, and, BC, obviously, and you and I have dealt with this before, whenever you have a big lead at halftime, you have guys tend to let up in the second half, and, so you'll get a score like this, that, 38-27, everybody goes, oh, that was fairly close, and then at the end of the day, you watch that game, it wasn't close at all. And, BC was pretty dominant. Jennings played well. BC ran the football well. And, they pretty much could do whatever they wanted, especially in the first half. And it was, it was not a game to get excited about, unless you're a BC fan, because it just not a great football game from Montreal standpoint, and BC played well, and they needed this game. They needed this game to play well. They get some momentum coming back. So this was a good game for BC, but overall from a fan perspective, not a great game to watch.
All right, and of course, the sixth win in a row by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Matt Nichols, who is 6-0 as the starter, completed 21 passes for 247 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Win the Banjo Bowl over the Saskatchewan Roughriders to go to 1-10, 17-10. Brian, what's your take on Matt Nichols? Do you think he's one of the elite quarterbacks, or do you think it's just from not playing anybody really?
I'm not ready to put him in elite status yet, but look, he's playing well, winning football games. That's what you got to do as a quarterback, and even with this game, this 17-10 game. It wasn't certainly wasn't it was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. It wasn't a great offensive game, but at the end of the day, did enough to win. And so really comes down to the bottom line. It doesn't matter how you win, just as long as you win. And they keep winning football games, and Nichols keeps doing enough to, even in a game like this, did enough at the end of it to get them a win. That's all that matters.
All right.
Nichols doesn't make stupid mistakes. Nichols may not be Mr. Spin the Scoreboard, but he
almost always has 0 interceptions.
Right, exactly. He's thrown exactly 1 interception since taking over as a starter. That's pretty good.
I will say this. I think the biggest part to this game that, Oz may want to talk about is, Andrew Harris getting injured. That's a huge deal. Here's a guy that, through this winning streak, we've talked a lot about Nichols, but Andrew Harris has played, pretty well. And so that injury certainly I think is going to be a key factor, how quickly he'll be back.
Yeah, and Oz, yourself. If you've got a quarterback that's only thrown 1 interception, that usually means there's a running back or a running game keeping the heat off of him. Do you think the loss of Andrew Harris can be overcome by Winnipeg? Do you think that maybe this will change Matt Nichols, make him a little bit more desperate, takes more chances?
Well, see, here's the thing. This signing by Winnipeg of Harris in the offseason was probably the second most discussed transaction of anything after Harris in Ottawa.
Yeah.
After they signed him as quarterback. Now, look, here's the thing. They said Paul LaPolice is coming in here as the OC. They're going to run this ball. They're going to have the best running game in the league. I mean, this is a dude that was with BC last season. He got something like literally 90% of their carries because they had nobody else. Here's a guy who's going to be a workhorse, okay? First 3-4 games when Drew Willie is starting quarterback, nothing's happening. As soon as he gets going, they start winning games. As soon as he starts of the offense, he's winning games. And nobody can stop this guy. Even in this game, he was tearing it up before he went down. And I think that's one of the main reasons why your score was 17-10. If he had managed to play through this game, it might have been about 31-10 because he kept putting him in nice position like he's been doing this past 5-6 weeks. By him being injured, that's a hit. That's a hit, yeah. I think we can say the streak will end fairly soon. I don't know what they can do to address this issue. There's just not that many good running backs even playing right now in the CFL, much less available. So I don't know how they could address this issue because they don't have a high-flying aerial attack. They're not going to spin the scoreboard, and I don't trust their defense is that good to keep the score down on teams like BC or Hamilton. I just don't. So, yeah, this is going to be something of a big deal.
All right, Brian, you still awake?
I'm still here.
Okay, I'm still here, too. I don't know. He talks so long, I even forgot what we were talking about. He always hogs all the airtime. You ever notice that, Brian?
Once in a while. But, the nice thing is, at least if you're not sleepy, you get sleepy, and so that way you can go to bed when we're done. So it works out.
Well, I find when he does riveting.
Ouch.
Look, you want to fall asleep, watch the Rams play offense right now on the TV.
Oh,
that'll put you to sleep. Jeez.
Well, we're on a CFL show, so you shouldn't even
sorry. Across continents there.
The Bengals are going to kick Steelers' ass coming up this weekend. It took the Stampeders 30 minutes to come alive, but they eventually did it in a big way. That's my NFL Films opening. What do you think?
Hey, that was good.
Like it.
I bought that.
Yeah, and they head into the second half. They trail Edmonton 17-3, led by Devarius Daniels, who scored 2 touchdowns. Calgary called back in a 34-28 overtime win. The victory, 8 in a row now. Oz, you just talked for 20 minutes. So, Brian, what's your take on Calgary?
I say it every week. We talk about the one thing about the CFL is outside of Calgary, everybody else they can look great one week, and we're talking about them as the second best team, and then they go out and lay an egg like the team we're going to talk about here in a minute. And Calgary just finds a way to win. First half, horrible, down 17-3, not playing in the second half. Completely different team, but that's what great teams do, and Calgary is one of those teams, like I said a few weeks ago, they're like the New England Patriots. They just find a way to win. One week it may be defense, one week it may be offense, one week it may be special teams. They may look like crap in the first half, come out in the second half, and do what they did, but that's what they do. And I'm not surprised by this. I mean, it was kind of a shock seeing them down 17-3, but I wasn't.
Well, some people saw a competitive game coming, though.
Yep, absolutely.
I got laughed at last week when I said I thought I could win the game. But Oz, what's your take on Edmonton and Calgary? And I'll tell you guys. I mean, I'll ask you both this, but I think Edmonton's going to be a threat by the time you get to the playoffs.
No, they won't, but I can talk about that later.
You're an idiot. I mean, come on. Go ahead. Brian, you got anything to say about Edmonton?
I'll tell you this. I mean, Mike Riley just is impressive. And I think if they can play to this level offensively, I mean, my concern with Edmonton is their defense. But I think if they can play to this level, absolutely. I mean, Mike Riley, this was, and just from what I was able to watch the game, this is the first time in a while that, I don't want to say he was completely comfortable in the pocket, but it certainly wasn't like 4 or 5 weeks ago where, I mean, he was taking a snap and, I mean, it looked like the floodgates had opened. This was a little bit better.
Well, that's what I mean. I think they've gotten a little bit better offensively and defensively each of the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Oz?
Absolutely, they've improved.
But you don't think they're a threat in a division, in a league that has basically a great team, a really good team, and then a bunch of other teams?
Okay, well, I mean, I've got an argument for you. Here it is. Okay, yeah, they get Saskatchewan next week. Here's their schedule after that. They're versus BC. They're at Winnipeg, at Montreal, and bye. Okay, there's a couple of good weeks.
Yeah, 2 bye games in a row.
At BC, at Hamilton, and then the final game is hosting Toronto, which could decide that number 6 spot. They could lose every single one of those games except one. They could get 2 more wins this season easily and miss the playoffs. That's why. Look, to this point, they faced one team with their starting quarterback in play the whole game. That was this week. And they lost. It doesn't matter if they improve. They've had the cupcake schedule this season, and they're barely over 500. You know,
yeah, but I also think this, though. I mean, it's basically going to come down to the last spot, I think, between them and Toronto.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to the last game probably because I think
Ricky Ray, which brings us to the next game because I actually really like the quarterback Toronto has.
How about
Dan LaFleur. He's from Central Michigan. I remember him in college, and I think he was with the Bengals for a while. He was with a few different NFL teams for a while, I believe. But I know he was in camp with the Bengals one year, and they cut him, which I didn't like because he actually played pretty good during the preseason. So do you think Dan LaFleur can make the difference for the Toronto Argonauts? Oz?
Oh. So I thought we were going to give this one to Brian first. I think that, okay, what I've seen out of Toronto is that they are improving in all aspects, despite, the uncertainty at quarterback, this injury thing at quarterback going on. But I think that Lefevre could be serviceable. Look, Toronto defense took nice advantage of the turnovers. They brought more pressure in this game, I think, than I've seen from them combined all season. I like this. I like this new sort of aggression that they showed in this game. If they can keep this up, they can compete. Why couldn't you finish 6th in this league this year, especially if you win this game against Hamilton? That's a definite plus in the division.
Yeah, I mean, but still, you got the concern of a crowd of 17,000 people again at home, Brian.
Well, yeah.
Well,
and my other question is, Brian, when do they stop just playing a half of football? I mean, this week, the problem was they showed up in the second quarter, put up 20 points, and did basically nothing the rest of the game or before that.
That's the thing, and that's coming back to my comment earlier is we've talked about Hamilton and we talked about, Zach coming back and how good they look. Then they come out and, they play a quarter of football and, lay an egg in a game that, quite honestly, I mean, I really felt that they would win. And, and I think that's the thing about the CFL this year, with the exception of Calgary. The only thing that is for sure is nobody is for sure, because from week to week, and that's why I think playoff time is going to be very interesting. You can talk about, Calgary's going to, I would think outside of a complete meltdown, Calgary is going to be the number one team, but anybody from 2 to 6 is a threat, and a threat even to Calgary, because I mean, as good as Calgary is, I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
there's enough good quarterbacks in this league to make any of these teams dangerous on a given day.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always talked. My philosophy with playoffs has always been get to the playoffs, and once you're there, anything can happen. You can be number one team coming in and lay an egg, or you could be a number 6 team and roll all the way. So, I just was very disappointed in Hamilton. I was watching the game actually on my way back from Houston, and I was very disappointed. That's where when we get into the games for this week, I think that's where we're going to see I would hope that Hamilton's going to come out and, kind of take Montreal to the woodshed.
Well, look, you guys are coaches. What causes this? What causes the team that doesn't play 60 minutes? What causes that?
We could go. We could be here for 2 hours.
There's multiple things that can cause that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of times, in a game like this, I thought they came out very flat. I think the problem sometimes in coming out flat is then all of a sudden you pick it up in the second quarter, but then you've got that thing called halftime, and immediately it takes everything out. I thought in this case they came out flat, had that we got to pick it up moment. They picked it up. Then at halftime, everybody's sitting around going, well, okay, we're back, we got it, and everybody just takes that deep sigh and, all right, we're ready to go, and they go out there.
Yeah, and Brian, I think this, too. I think this causes it more than anything, where they get Collaros back, and for 2 or 3 weeks it works like that, and they get comfortable like that. And then there's no sense of urgency starting a game because you think that, the last couple of weeks we didn't play the first half, so we don't have to really worry about it. And the problem is, after a while, that catches up to you, and it bites you right square in the ass.
And especially when you do exactly what you just said, you do it in the second quarter, and everybody walks in at halftime and goes, see, no problem.
Yeah. And then the third quarter starts off bad, and they're all saying, well, we'll kick it in here in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be fine. And before you know it, fourth quarter's done. You go, wait, we just lost.
Yeah, game's over. Yeah.
So there's so many things that cause it. But I think in this case, I think that's exactly where it was. I think, Mike is right on that. They've been doing this for so many weeks that, football is a game of routine. And sometimes how you come out and how you play is as much routine as anything. So when that routine is to come out flat and then pick it up and win the football game, well, that becomes routine. And that's something that they're going to have to,
and look at all the NFL teams. You remember the Cardiac Browns in, 1980? Where they have, 7 games where they win it in the last minute, and they do that all the time, and they get to the playoffs, and it gets to the last-minute game against the Raiders, and something goes wrong, and they lose it. You can only walk a high wire for so long before the wind picks up.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That was damn near brilliant what I just said. Write that down. Oh, we're recording this.
That was very nice.
All right, so I don't even remember what I said by now, but I've been hitting a lot.
Good.
Brian can back me up on this, and I don't remember what I just said now, too.
Yeah,
there's something to do with a high wire.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where he'd say something really good, and, you really have to make sure he has a pen in hand to write it down.
Everybody I know that I'm friends with has a pen and paper to write stuff down for my big book that'll be upcoming. Yeah. I was going to name it something, but I forgot what it was, and I forgot which friend I had write down the name that I thought of, so I'm working on that. Now we go to our picks, and I finally sat down today and came up with our records, and I can tell you this. All three of us are tied with the exact same record.
How about that?
Let me ask you this. Is our winning percentage over 500 or under 500?
Slightly. It is not good enough over 500 to tell people what it is, but it is above 500.
All right. Well, good.
We had a rough first 3 or 4 weeks, if you remember.
Yeah, we did.
I think we had some weeks where, we had a 3-way tie for first, and we were 1-3. But
yeah. I remember those days. Yes.
Yeah. Those were the days, as Archie Bunker would say.
But I was talking to you about this, Mike. It's this happens in the CFL. The first 4 or 5 weeks, especially these past few years, have been really unpredictable with a few exceptions. But nobody saw the Red Blacks coming last year in the first 5-6 weeks. We were still doubting them every game, and they were 4-2 after 6 weeks. This gets unpredictable. But like I say, too, I think after you hit the halfway point, if you're not getting most of them right, you're not paying attention. So
last week, there was one of us that got them all right, Brian. You know who that was?
Who was it?
I already said so.
It wasn't me and it wasn't you. So the first game this week we're going to pick is Montreal at Hamilton. Oz, since you came in last week, I'll let you pick the game first.
Oh, thanks.
No, Oz was perfect.
At least you didn't go age before beauty on that.
Austin was what's your name? Oz was perfect last week. Age before beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't both of those, but go ahead, Oz.
Well, I think Toronto may have done the league's other teams a favor by sort of, giving us an idea of how to beat Hamilton. But on the other hand, I don't think Montreal has enough to beat Hamilton. I mean, look, I've been obsessed. I'm sorry that Robert is not here this week because I've been obsessed with something that he said on the show last week ever since he said it, which is if you have one side of the ball that's dominant, all the other side has to do is enough to win the game, enough not to lose the game, I think he said. And Montreal just doesn't have that on offense. They just don't. They don't even have enough to not lose the game. And so, I got to go Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm going Hamilton too. What do you think, Brian?
Yep, going Hamilton. I think this is one of those where Hamilton after last week, this is one where you want to come out and take somebody to woodshed. What perfect team to have that opportunity than Montreal. So,
well, violence never solved anything, Brian. But you want to go ahead and pick Toronto at Winnipeg?
I'm gonna go with the hot team. I'm gonna go with Winnipeg. Especially being at home, even though Toronto, plays not too bad on the road.
Well, they won last week at home, so maybe they're and it's at Winnipeg.
Yeah, I got to go with Winnipeg. I got to stay with the hot team until they, you got to stay with the hot hand. So I think Winnipeg. I think this will be a close game. I think it'll be a good game. But I'm gonna say Winnipeg pulls it out.
All right, Oz.
All right, I got to go to you guys on another one here because I was talking with Joe about this game earlier when we were recording the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast, and he supposed that, so these two teams, one of them just traded a starting cornerback, TJ Heath, and the other one just traded the former starting quarterback. So don't these two teams now have an insight into each other's playbook? Would you agree with this?
Brian?
Say that again. You cut out on me there.
Or should I do it again?
Yeah, ask it again. It broke up on me, too. That's why I went to Brian. Go ahead. But, Brian, you can answer it, whatever it is. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me ask you this again. Okay, so I was recording the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast with Joe Pritchard earlier tonight, and he supposed that, look, these are two teams that were just involved in a trade. One of the teams traded a starting cornerback. The other team traded a former starting quarterback. So do these teams have insight into each other's playbooks for this week?
Yeah, you do, but
not as much as you think.
No, I mean, everybody, coaches are smart. I mean, you watch film, everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing. So, I mean, it doesn't, now, there are little things, I mean, like we'll get team, we had a guy come in here last year from another team, and, we were able to have him give us signals, and, so I mean, it helped a little bit.
Wait a second, Brian. But when you do that, don't you feel like a dirty, filthy cheater?
Nope. Not at all.
You feel just a little dirty, like a stripper that doesn't have no clothes on?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Because I know you like to feel dirty, so that's why I asked.
Nah, I don't ever feel dirty, and I never feel dirty about something like that. Which
I would never do anything like that. But go ahead, Oz.
Never. Okay, so
wait,
basically,
don't let the lightning strike. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said
that. Well, that was a lot of information for that question. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
What was the question?
Yeah, exactly. See? So much information, you forgot.
All right, I know I'm picking Winnipeg, too. Let's move on. Ottawa at Calgary. What?
I'm going with Toronto. I had to get that in there. I'm going to.
Oh, I thought you. Oh, well, that's a stupid pick. All right, Ottawa at Calgary. I'm going to take Calgary because I tried to go against Calgary last week. Oz, Calgary, or Ottawa?
It's tempting to go Ottawa. You know, this is the team that gave them the best game this season. It's a different team, but they do have the bye week, and I think they really needed it this week. But I think I'm going to go with Calgary in a close one.
Did you just say Ottawa gave Calgary their best game?
Didn't they? That was the tie.
I thought when BC beat them, that was probably their toughest game.
In week 1?
Well, they beat them.
Nah.
Okay, so their loss wasn't their toughest game.
I think that Calgary beat themselves in that first game. I think they just they came out sluggish. They weren't ready to play regular season games.
They beat themselves.
I'm going to take the Drummond theory on that one. You know, they're still like in the preseason basically.
They beat
so themselves. I'm not going to count that.
All right.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I think the best game we've seen against them this year was against, because look, they could have won that game. They could have won the BC.
Well, I think that the second BC game that went to, what was it, double overtime was pretty
44-41. Yeah. That was a good one too. But I like Ottawa's chances. I don't think they're going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I'll go Calgary. I'm not getting off the horse.
Okay. Brian?
Well, I'm going to do this because, you know, I'm just barely over 500, so, you know, I might as well just...
Well, remember this, we're all tied, and he took Toronto, so... Don't get back that game right away.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot here, and I'm going to go Ottawa for no other reason than the fact that I just have a funny feeling that Ottawa is going to win this game, and I'm going to go with my gut feeling here, and I'm going to take Ottawa.
And Oz, if you would like, we could turn this to a hair game. You know, Brian could shave his head if his team loses, and
no, that's okay. No, I've learned my lesson.
He's actually checked out Facebook pictures now. All right, Edmonton at Saskatchewan, Oz.
Jeez, you just can't say anything good. About Saskatchewan. I'm gonna have to go Edmonton here, but again, I think this is their last easy game. I think it's all rough sailing ahead for them after this. Edmonton.
All righty. I'm going to go with Edmonton also, but I would like to bring up, if people want to see two pretty bald-headed men, if you go on my Facebook page, there's a picture of me and Schmidt in Freedom Hall before a football game with our hats off, and I'll tell you, we shined like beautiful lights. Brian, who you got, Edmonton or Saskatchewan?
I'm going with Edmonton. You know
the picture I'm talking about too, don't you, Brian?
I know exactly what picture you're talking about.
It was beautiful.
It was. I'm going with Edmonton because I just can't, you know, put my money on Saskatchewan for anything right now. So.
All right. Now, David, don't you wish, or Oz, whatever you call yourself this week, don't you wish you had a picture of you as a bald-headed grown man?
Not really. I'm camera
You need to shave your head. Then we can be the three bald guys in the Two Legends CFL Weekly Pick'em show. Because you know we're not getting Dieter to shave his hair because he's got a lot of hair and is pretty, so he's not shaving his head.
Yes.
I think we should try next week, though. I think we can get him.
We'll give it a shot. We'll see if we get Dieter to shave his head. We just be five bald guys. The Five Bald Guys CFL Weekly Pick'em show. And then there was a what's the name of that? There's a Twitter or a Facebook, or not Facebook, but a website. Let me see if I can remember what it was. There's a website called Morning Big Blue. It's got a forum with Blue Bomber discussion, and they were talking about Dieter Brock getting into the Hall of Fame and stuff, and then they put a link to one of our shows, and they said, here's Dieter Brock with Robert Drummond picking the CFL games, in case anybody wants to listen. It's kind of an informal show. Is that a shot at us?
I don't think so. They
said we were informal, so I don't know. I felt pretty formal, but...
Yeah, okay, so no black tie required.
Well, I mean, we're on iHeartRadio and stuff. The guy didn't have to call us informal. It was kind of a pot shot. But, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Wow.
But didn't you think? What do you think, Brian?
I didn't take it as a shot. I just take it that they don't know any better, and we have to educate them.
Well, don't say that, because Oz knows what I'm talking about here. People there ain't gonna like that, what you just said. We'll explain it to you later, won't we, Oz?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, sure.
Send me an email.
I don't like typing. You know I don't like typing. But, all right, Brian, do you have any final words?
Well, I hope people that listen to the show this week don't get the wrong idea about all of us. But,
What's that mean?
I'm good.
Are you talking about Oz again?
Well, we let him talk a little bit more tonight than we have been.
Oz, do you have any final words?
Well, again, I talk too much, but no real final words. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the CFL this week.
It felt like Oz got a little butthurt on that, didn't it, Schmitty?
I think you did. We're sorry.
We're sorry.
Come on.
We love you a long time. Don't be like that. But, guys,
what about you, Mike? Do you have any final words?
I don't have any final words except we love you a long time.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I think from now on, I'm just going to call Oz Sweetheart and Brian Buttercup, and I'm just going to introduce them as Sweetheart and Buttercup.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, if you're going for the me love you long time, I want to be Private Pile. Yeah.
Why's that? Gomer? So you're trying to say Gomer paid for sex?
No, we're making the Full Metal Jacket references, aren't we? That's what that line's from. Full Metal Jacket.
No, I was just making a reference from when I went to Asia. What are you talking about?
Well, there you go. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I only said it to like 3 people, though.
Wow, we have lost total control of this show.
But, guys, you can check out the Rouge, White, and Blue with Os Davis and Joe Pritchard. That will be on Wednesday. Let's see, we got Out of Left Field, which will be the newest episode, will be out tomorrow morning, the weekly baseball show. We got the NFL Pick'em show coming up with former Denver Bronco Mark Cooper, myself, Matt Andrew Scavage, and Brian Schmidt. That should be out Wednesday morning. Am I forgetting anything? We get the CFL Pick'em show.
We have the Steelers show.
Oh, yeah, there we go. We forgot the Steelers show with Brian Schmidt and former Pittsburgh Steeler Dwight Stone. We got Os Davis coming up with the new Los Angeles Rams show. That's tomorrow, right?
With Tony Hunter.
Yeah, with former Notre Dame legend and Los Angeles Ram, Buffalo Bill tight end Tony Hunter. San Francisco 49er Weekly Show with Matt Andrew Scavage, and a guy that was named to the Florida State All-Century team as a kick returner, Dexter Carter, who also was the kick returner, Super Bowl 29 for the San Francisco 49ers. Also, the UC Bearcat Show will be out tomorrow with James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster, which actually will have guys there Thursday night, Houston plays Cincinnati, right, Schmitty?
Yep.
So that's a huge game. Houston's ranked 6th in the country. We will have the grueling truth there in the press box and interviewing Coach Tom Herman after the game, or Tommy Tuberville if UC magically beats Houston, which I don't think is going to happen. But that's just a guess. I've been wrong before, like last week on Calgary Edmonton, and Oz got to keep his hair. But make sure you check out the main sponsor for the grueling truth, which is Gridiron Mo. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. You can guess the plays to an NFL game as you watch the game with your family and friends and see how your scores compare to everybody else. Make sure you check us out on iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Anywhere you find sports podcast, you'll find the Grilling Truth. So make sure you check us out next week where Dieter Brock and Robert Drummond will be back with us for the CFL Weekly Pick'em show. That'll be week 14, so we're getting towards the playoffs now, Oz. Only about 5 or 6 more weeks to go.
Yeah. Things are kind of in focus, but I'm really wondering about those last couple spots. I'm really curious to see what happens with Edmonton. continue. Especially.
All right. I'll ask that question, which is supposed to be yes, so I could end the show. But
yes.
We talked a little longer than normal, but that's all right, because now I feel bad about not asking Schmidt to say a last sentence or two.
No, I'm good.
Okay. That's the first show where he hadn't said I'm good the whole show, so I was hoping to get that at the end. All right, guys. So for Brian Schmidt, Os Davis, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.